What's up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Confessions of a Black Scientist. Now, I talked about my first year at Georgia State University, how I went down there broke, sacrificed all my financial stability just to pursue a dream. Now, and then I talked about my time in Dr. Zen Wong's lab, and that time wasn't so pleasant. Now things are going to ramp up in my second year. Now I switched into Dr. Gregory Poon's lab, and what I used to do in his lab was biophysical chemistry work. Now what we did and what I looked at, my project was was looking at epigenetics, so looking at how specific proteins bind to DNA or methylated DNA sequences. So with that, when I moved into the lab, things were pretty good. Now he was a brand new professor actually, and things were actually moving along quite fast for him to be a new professor because he had funding. So that was great. Things were going smoothly. Now I was one of the first two people in the lab. It was me and another young lady. Actually, she was older than me, but it's fine. So in the first part of the time that I was there, a lot of racial comments occurred. Now, granted, I've dealt with racial comments before, but this was a little different. Now, I am from the Midwest, so racial comments in the Midwest are kind of different from they are in the South. Now, when the lab got full, it was mostly white women in the lab. Now, I usually wore headphones, just jamming out to music, usually R&B or something. Now, I had one woman in our lab, in our group, come up to me and asked me a question. She was like, "Hey, so is all your music about bitches and hoes?" Now, obviously, that took me aback. Have you heard any of my music? Like, have I ever played it out loud? I couldn't remember. Now, this is when me being an RA for 3 years comes into play. Now, I'm thinking, okay, because I know back in Indiana that a lot of people they just didn't know any better. I'm thinking, well, maybe she doesn't know any better. This is a teaching moment, right? So I was like, no, I'm mostly listening to R&B and lyrical hip hop. And she was like, well, what I hear on the radio, I was like, well, a radio isn't a great depiction of what I personally like. Like, everybody likes their own thing, but what I personally like is something different. Now, the radio plays popular music, but they don't play everybody's favorite song. Like, they play what's popular at the time. So I tried to play her something more moderate on the lyrical scale. Like, Kendrick Lamar would be way too real for her. So I went something a little more moderate. I went J. Cole. And I played her a couple songs. Now, she did not listen to the context or the content. So what she did was she was listening for keywords. So she listened to a couple songs. She heard the word bitch. She heard the word hoe. And she was like, well, see, it's all about bitches and hoes. And so at that time, I knew, oh, well, you're just ignorant. Like, it's just point blank period. You're just ignorant. Like, if I have brung you into my world, tried to teach you a little bit about my culture, and you just decide to disregard that completely, then it's not a reflection of me, it's a reflection of you. So those kind of things or comments like that kind of snowballed from there. Like, it got more and more, I don't even know how to describe it. They were really, really racial. So she one day she came up to me and she was like, hey, are you angry right now? And I was like, I was working in a lab and I had my headphones in. I was like, no, why would I be angry? And she was like, well, because this country music is playing. And I looked at her like, why would that make me angry? And she was like, oh, because all black people hate country. Now, I think she meant it as a joke, but it was it was in bad taste. It was in very bad taste, actually. And then my advisor, Dr. Poon, is just sitting there laughing at it. And I just couldn't believe it, but I had to remember he actually says some things like, oh, you remind me of my black friend. That's just the one thing you don't tell a black person. Oh, you remind me of my black friend. And for us to be in a scientific setting, it should be just our intelligence should be the only thing evaluated, not our color. But I still have to be evaluated by my color, and it sucks. Now, if you're out there and you're any kind of ethnicity or different ethnicity, you have to be aware of it. Because I have to be aware of it myself. So people are going to say things, and people are going to say the wrong things all the time. And what you got to do is first try to make it a teaching moment. That's what I tried to do. Try to make it a teaching moment. Try to be like, hey, well, that's not all the way true. Like, you might have seen that somewhere else, but I am different. And honestly, if they don't want to hear what you have to say, then I mean, they're just plain ignorant, and they just become a office relationship. Like you deal with them, but you don't deal with them, if you know what I mean. So from there, I have so many more stories about the racial things that have been said in that lab, and they talked about the KKK, and all this other stuff. But it actually gets worse the second part. Now, I want you guys to stay tuned, because that's when things start to get real heavy, because I was a TA, and a professor said some things to me that eventually got me kicked out of the school. Alright, so stay tuned. Hey guys, if you like these videos, make sure you like, you share it, you subscribe it, tell your friends, tell your girlfriend, tell your mama, tell your baby's mama. You know what, just tell everybody, alright? Gang, gang.